looking like that?
I was waiting for music to finish, and then I'm like, "Hey, who's the pretty woman there? In pink." I thought it was me, and then I saw I'm not in pink.
No, you're not in pink. I took away your pink this week.
No, you just got more attractive because you have the Malaysian air, Sham.
Yeah. I was born a Malaysian anyway, bred a Malaysian anyway, right?
Made
Half my
in
life in
Malaysia.
Malaysia, made in Malaysia, and then kena import to Singapore. Hi,
And then we
Malaysia.
can talk about what happened.
No, we won't. That's a conversation for another day.
Good morning, good morning, Sham. How are you?
I'm good. We were having a very interesting conversation about Savitry and Gemini Ganesan. And for those of you who know Indian or Tamil cinema, you know who we are talking about. Okay. And there's a reason why we are talking about Savitry, because it's got to do with our guest today, and Anin, who's calling in all the way from Indonesia or Jakarta. Yeah. So shall we get it on? Shall we?
Yeah. I want to say that Anin Savitry is nowhere near the Savitry we're talking about.
Yeah. Just in name, in name. Oh, but before we introduce Anin, I think it's the new month, right? Malar, it's April. It's World Health Day today, and the theme for this year is Our Planet, Our Health. And so the way we think about it is we're going to look at how can the individual, the organization, work in a way that's sustainable, not just for the business, but for the economy and for mankind in general, right, as a whole. So we're going to have a string, as usual, a string of leaders for this month. We're going to start off with Aninditta Savitry, okay, or as we call her, Anin. Right. Anin is the COO of IDK based in Jakarta. And I bumped, right? Literally, Malar bumped, okay, into Anin on LinkedIn. All right. And two things captivated me. One was that she writes posts that are deep, right? It's not the one-liners, the two-liners. It's deep. She has something to say, and she writes something about it in depth, right? She's curious. She's not afraid of telling things that may not be kosher or PC, right? But what I found was also interesting was that Anin has a way of connecting with people whom she has never met before, and they build strong bonds virtually, and then after 2 years, then they say, Ibu, which is how they call the respectful way they call a lady in Indonesia. Ibu, can we meet? And then they travel about 1 hour, 2 hours, to go and meet each other, right? So I thought that was amazing, and I was just keeping track of it, and I thought it should be a good guest for us to have a chat. And I know you will have all those questions that you will pull out all those nuggets from. Right?
Yeah. She already made my life very good just with one major nugget that I'm taking action, and I'll tell Anin about it if we have time.
Yes.
So let's bring her on. I think people, who want to listen, want to make sure they get a taste of Aninditta Savitry.
Yes.
Hi.
Here comes Anin.
Anin.
Good morning, Singapore. Good morning, Malaysia. And of course, good morning, Jakarta.
Are you always like this first thing in the morning, Anin, before your meeting starts?
I am a morning person by default.
Oh, nice for a change. Nice. Good morning.
But the full answer to that is I think I'm inherently a content person. So that comes naturally.
Nice. Okay. A content person. Okay. So it's not content, but contented, right? You're feeling content. Yeah, the feeling of content, right?
Okay.
Very nice. So, in your grand old age that you are right now, which you're not, okay? To feel content and be comfortable in your skin. What were some of the things that you had to learn early on in your career, Anin, that sustained your well-being? I mean, that's my way of looking at it. The fact that you're content, that you're comfortable in your skin, you're well. Yeah. So what were some of the things that you learned early on in your career that helped you become content?
You know, when I started working, it was in the US, and I was an immigrant. I was dependent on a certain type of visa sponsored by my company. So I did not have that much leverage, okay, Sharm? Okay. Because the moment I don't follow my boss, they would say something like, okay, we would not extend your visa, we will terminate, your job, I mean, it was as vulnerable as that. Okay. So I did not have much, to bargain with my company at that time, but I try to compensate it that way, because happiness is a choice, and it's not only a choice in our head, it is also a choice outside, if we can look at it. Okay? So with me, like what really helped me, during my early career, in the US, which was difficult because it's a country far away from home. There wasn't anybody Indonesian, in that city. So I became friends with people from the office, outside the office, and a lot of them were immigrants as well. Okay. Now, if you remember, certain things that have been proven to make us happy is like good relationship with one, like a purposeful, life or work, and there are a few others. Now, since I cannot have all of them, I chose to have good friends. Okay. And in a way, it's a substitute as well, to family from, away, from home. So I had a lot of good times, with these friends. Okay. Now, on the hindsight, if I meet these friends again at this age, they may not be good friends. They are different people already, right? Okay. So, and they're all over the world now. So some are in Singapore, some are in India, some are, like in Latin America. So I imagine, like different times require different strategy, to be well and to be happy. But at that time, the resources that was readily available was friends, like, so the skill required was just to be good friends, or how to make friends. Okay. That might be, Sham, like answering your questions, why I am easily making friends in LinkedIn, despite the fact that they, like we do not actually meet each other yet. Okay. So that kind of
yeah.
And then the other thing will be to have a mentor. Yeah. I think early career is tough. Really, really tough. You have no idea what you are doing, right? And then so, just like like that television quiz, right? You are given one phone call to a friend to ask something.
Your
Lifeline.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just at that time I use it excessively. I call my mentor like every day or so, and crying because my job was very hard. It wasn't actually, Sham. Come to think of it, it wasn't. It's just I was clueless. And it's not that my mentor could do my job, but just having somebody there, on the other side of the line, saying, okay, tomorrow we'll do better, like today you just calm down, like it kind of lifted the spirit, right? Just another day, another day. And suddenly I became really good at what I did.
So what exactly were you doing at the start of your career, Anin?
Okay. So I was a market analyst. Okay.
Mm,
I had to analyze the market.
mm,
At that time, my scope was analyzing food and beverage market. It
okay.
was in line sort of with my education.
Mm,
Now, analyzing the market wasn't that hard. Okay, uh, but there is this risk, like that you kind of screwed up. Okay, a low
mm,
risk, but the impact it was pretty high.
mm,
There was somebody, like in the company, that sort of analyzed the market. I don't remember which way, but it resulted in the investor dumping the stock of certain companies. Okay,
mm,
now I don't feel like to be the one, caught up in that kind of situation, right?
mm,
Well, I never did. Okay,
mm,
okay, but that fear, like that what if, like
mm,
is very scary. And I think we carry that fear, throughout our career. That what if, like what if
mm,
this happen, what if that happens. Okay,
mm,
and it kind of paralyzes us to a certain extent. Okay. So
mm,
that's
mm,
something to learn also, from managing the what if.
mm. And as so that was your start, right? And your what if was that anxiety perhaps that came out, and which led to your calls to your mentor to see if you were, you know whether you what if you had gone into that situation, or am I in that situation. So, and like you said, that what ifs, that questions of what if is something that goes through your career. How has that? I'm sure it has evolved. Tell us how it's evolved through, as your start as a marketing and analyst, or a business analyst, sorry, to where you are right now. How has that what ifs evolved for you,
Yeah.
and how you
So
dealt with the what ifs?
a lot of the milestone in my career, happened because of survival. Okay. So
Mm,
this what if is one of them. Like
mm,
it became so debilitating that I could not sleep. Like I could not, stop thinking. I could not rest. I was awake all night, to think about it. And this could even go to small things like, like I have to travel tomorrow. I keep on going through my checklist. Okay, like toothbrush. Okay, comb.
mm,
Like shirt. Like all that. That I thought, like I can't survive this way, right? There's got to be a way to manage this. Then I kind of, take a look around the situation, and I thought, okay, so this whole what if, right? What would be the worst what if? Okay.
mm, mm,
Uh, if you are a corporate professional, you work for companies, you work for somebody else, as in you are not a business owner. The worst
mm,
what if is usually that you lose your job,
mm,
right? You screw up so bad, you lose your job. Um, And I thought, like, okay, so if I forget to bring the right shirt, and then, I go to office with a t-shirt, and then, like the boss fire me, for example, um, then I'll be out of my job. What's the big deal about it? Like, and I started thinking rationally around it, like if I lose my job, do I have enough saving? Okay. Do I, keep enough buffer,
mm,
uh,
mm,
for the next job. Do I have enough network? Do I have enough skills, to sell and all that? And the answer
mm,
come up kind of reassuringly, like I
mm,
think I can survive. Okay. And
mm,
usually the longer you are working, like you save more money, you become more stable and you have more skills. So I think the least I think the it becomes less, the assurance that you'll be just doing fine.
Mm.
Now, like I've been working for 20 plus years, so by now I think, come on, like anything can happen. What haven't I seen in 20 years, right?
Yeah. I was going to ask you, so what is your what if now? What's your what if now?
I think the pandemic has, kind of nudged me into health and well-being. Okay, so mental
Mm.
health and as well
Mm.
physical health. Um, I think from a physical health perspective, because a lot of that has something to do with gene, right? So there is
Mm.
sort of limitation on what we can enhance, like, okay, I eat well, I exercise, so I do
Mm.
what I can. The rest is like genetics. Okay, we
Mm.
manage that. Mental health, I think I completely sort of missed that. Mostly because I was always so busy.
Mm.
Okay, I was always so occupied, like with something. Uh, Either it's work, it's personal projects. There was always something interesting going on in my life. Okay,
Mm.
and suddenly it was the pandemic. Okay, uh, and just by not commuting, I kind of save 4 hours a day, okay, because it took like 2 hours, from my place to Jakarta and back. So suddenly I had extra 4 hours, right?
Mm.
Now initially I thought, you like 4 extra hours, like can you imagine how much more I can write in LinkedIn with that? Oh, I did actually write a book during that time. Okay, anyway, but the instinct was that, I have more time. I'm gonna, fill it up.
Mm.
Just like you have like this garage, right? Like you have a small garage, you fill it up. You have a big garage, you fill it up. Like your cell phone, right? Like
Yes.
lots of storage, you fill it up. You have,
Yes.
so it's like that. So then, I started filling it up, right? I
Mm.
I wrote in LinkedIn. I actually collaborated, writing a book, with a few professionals. I did all sorts of, interesting things, but obviously online.
Mm.
And then it got to a point, I didn't realize it was like a breakdown or a burnout. I didn't realize because I never had it. Okay, so like it started with I was having trouble to sleep. Yeah.
Mm.
And that was weird because I am the kind of person who like by the time I touch my pillow, like not only in bed, in taxi, like in aeroplane, I touch a pillow or something soft, I'm out. Okay,
God.
teddy bear. Like that. I started having trouble sleeping. Okay, now it may sound trivial, okay, but it's actually a downward spiral. Like I started having problem sleeping.
Mm.
In the morning I would be sluggish, and this is my typical morning, right? Like can you imagine me being sluggish?
No.
Okay, and then because I was lethargic, I could not I could not feel energized. Then it's I started eating less. I don't have appetite. And those are like actually little combination, not sleeping and not eating, right? And
Mm.
then I could not work well, or I could not join, like activities, mostly online, of course. Okay, and once I don't feel that I know I'm not achieving anything, like today just gone waste, it's a
Mm.
mental feeling again, like that degradation. Okay?
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, for a week or two I didn't know that, I thought it was just, oh, maybe like I had flu, or maybe I was just under the weather. Okay, uh, but what I did is I talked to my sister. Okay, and she said, uh, that's that's a psychological problem in a sense, that's not really physical. Okay, and because her husband is a doctor, the doctor, said, okay, I can prescribe, like medicine for the tummy because, I had really, bad gastritis, which was never a thing. Okay, so all those are all new, right? But like he said that a lot of this is actually is a mental problem rather than a, like a physiological problem. I can, give you prescription, for, like that, those things physiological, but, for the mental problem, you need to solve it a different way. So amazingly, like, a few friends from LinkedIn got to hear about this. And, one of them actually suggested that I met his friend. Wow, amazing thing, LinkedIn. Okay, so I got to meet his friend who is a psychologist, but not non-practicing psychologist. Okay, so he went to school to study psychology, became a psychologist, but he is not working as a psychologist now. Okay, I talked to him, and he kind of explained it, like about how the brain works, like how the change of our daily routine, extreme change. Okay, so because I used to be very active, now, like the pandemic, I'm home alone, the lack of social cues, so all that, he was explaining to me, and then he helped me compensate that. Okay, so I used to be around, like working with a lot of people. Now I'm alone, so then, how can you substitute that, because it's not alone, it's not loneliness per se, like I'm basically an introvert, so I'm okay, being alone, but it's the intellectual loneliness, it's a bit different. Okay. So he suggested that I do a certain things to compensate for that. Okay, and then for the sluggishness, like he suggested that I do certain activities. Okay, and for the social interaction, because it was still not permissible at that time, to actually go for a gathering. Like there were cute things, that he suggested, right? Like, you know, he was asking, like, what are the things that you like doing in the past that kind of give you energy, but maybe you didn't have much time to do because you were busy working. Maybe let's revisit that, and you have time now. Okay, and one of them, interestingly, was that maybe because this is my educational background, I actually like going to supermarkets. Ha ha. Not to shop, like window shopping in supermarkets. Okay, so it's not window shopping in the mall, but because I studied food and beverage, it's very interesting to go to supermarkets, see the layout, how they actually put all the merchandise, like what they actually sell, like and at different supermarkets, different like level, like, so there's this small, maybe class A kind of store, and then class B is bigger, and then class C is, in the mall, and then there's this affluent, supermarket, like I don't know, in Singapore could be like Mark and Spencer kind of supermarket, and this is like a small supermarket, so small that it is actually a replacement of a kiosk maybe, and this is usually in apartments, right? Apartment building, right? So what do they actually carry? Because I know the science behind it, the procurement, the supply chain is very interesting to do that. So you know what he that psychologist is saying, okay, so let's work on that. Like you make it a target, like daily, not daily, weekly, that you visit one supermarket. Okay. And then he's volunteering himself, and then after that you can tell me about the supermarket. So I was like, okay, I'm back in being a market analyst.
Nice.
Nice.
And yeah, it was actually hidden. Actually, I forgot about it. Like I used to do this supermarket shopping when I was abroad. Never in Indonesia. And now that it comes back to me, then a few people got to know about it. So sometimes, like they kind of send a text to me, "Hey, Anin, how are you? Like which supermarket did you visit? This week?"
There you go.
So
Yeah.
how long did it take before you sort of found your footing to this new space, through the intervention that you got from your new LinkedIn friend? Because I love the way you took us through, almost like watching Savitri movie in Aninditta Savitry's movie, right? So how long did it take for you to sort of bounce back after you spoke to your friend to say, okay, I think I have found my
Mm.
new rhythm, new routine? How long did it take?
Okay. So it took me about. Okay, so I get a lot of help as well. Okay, so it's not only that psychologist. Okay, um, so the psychologist, again, he is not a practicing psychologist.
Yep.
So he's I have to tell you, like he's such an angel. He doesn't judge for all the
We'll get
meetings.
his number from you later so that we can.
Call the angels.
Okay, that is the story I'm gonna tell you. Okay. So for so then for a month or two maybe, I saw him every week, with my strategy. Okay, so which supermarket I visited, and he said, I read your LinkedIn stories. I actually brought some manuscript which was never printed before. Like like this is what I like to do. And he said, okay, like I think you should continue writing, even write more. And it's like, what for? He said, for me, write for me. Okay, so then I write for him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but like eventually, what I wrote for him, I edited and I put it in LinkedIn. I can actually show you which one. You know what about the what if?
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm.
that was actually a letter I wrote to him.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yes,
Mm.
because he said, Anin, you are so full of what if. Okay, that paralyzes you. Okay,
Mm.
I I
so,
I'm
well,
more
the bonus of that was that we were not only talking about that, what is it, that mental health issue. Somehow he
Mm.
touches my past as well. So
Mm.
then like it was like a free consultation for
nice,
for my life as well, right? So
nice.
like okay, so I wrote more, and he gave me that very strong shoulder to say, like, I don't feel like, like I feel that I I'm too lethargic to write a good story. He said, why should it be like a good story? Why should it
Mm.
be, like for audience purpose? Write for
Nice.
survival. If
Nice.
you
Mm.
want to write to survive, just write. Okay.
Nice.
If you need an audience, send it to me. Okay. So then I started kind of exercising my brain muscle, like for random. So I get out of that lethargy, because I started writing a lot, for him. It was his encouragement. Okay. So
Nice.
it took him. So I saw him like once a week, and then with my to-do list, like a homework, like, okay, so I went to the supermarket, and then when I'm telling about my passion, right, I became alive.
Like
Like,
now.
oh yeah, this supermarket, yeah, that supermarket, this
Like
supermarket,
now. Like now. All right.
Yeah.
what is it? Okay. And then like I wrote this. Okay, so eventually, he got me out of my lethargy. Okay, my sluggishness. Okay, that took us about maybe 2 months or so. Okay, so every week I would see him. Okay, and then we would go through the homework. Okay. Now, but that was just once a week. So I actually got another. Yeah.
Anin, sorry. I'm just very curious. How long did it take? Because I have got 3,000 questions for you.
Oh, okay. So you just shoot me the question.
Okay. So, I mean, I love, see, what I saw was this, right? I thought what we are talking about, world health, being
Yeah.
healthy, right? And we can't have a healthy world without healthy individuals. And here we
Yeah.
are talking to a very, very successful corporate career woman who has seen everything. And I just absolutely love, because it's very nice to appreciate you for the big success you are today. But what I really love is the beginning of your story where you say, you were an immigrant and how difficult life was. And you've actually touched on something that's really important if it's not for everybody, for every woman. But so it's not just about being a woman, but imagine being in US as an immigrant where you felt insecure. So what I picked up and what I absolutely love is that I felt like we had this flash of who you are and what it may seem like the most vulnerable side of Savitri. So we start with this vulnerable Savitri going into the most powerful space, and then during pandemic you are so courageous to say that I became vulnerable again, and you're sharing with us the earth angel who helped you to pick yourself up. And in both times, right, the word that has come out over and over again is the idea of survival. And I love the psychologists who help you to think through what works for you, and you picked it up, right? So that's just an amazing story, right? And you know what? One of the biggest thing that I feel a lot of us struggle with, and I think it'd be lovely to hear your insight as to how you overcame it, or what made you, or how did you think or act for you to overcome it. Is that you said, at some point you were doing things out of survival, right? Because you needed to survive, you needed the job. You had the fear that most people have, which is, what if I don't fit in? And I lose my job. So the sense of security was gone. And at some point you said, you started being rational. So you moved from being emotional, i.e. threat, you felt the threat, which is the need for survival. And then you picked yourself up and you said, you know what, I'm going to be rational and see if this situation comes, how am I going to overcome it? So you started thinking about it in a more realistic, holistic way, which is, do I have enough money? What am I going to do? What next and what next? And you've obviously built a very successful career. So tell us, for people who are listening, because we only have another 10 minutes, right? And I need to get some
Is
wisdom.
it just 10
I
minutes?
know. That's why I'm rushing you. I'm sorry. Right?
But we have the whole day.
I know I have but
Oh, you have a 10 o'clock. Your meeting starts at 10 o'clock. It's your meeting
Okay.
day.
yeah. So let's do that, right? Tell us very quickly, directly, what do you think we need to do for the young people or not so young people? We are all going through some form of issues with survival. So if I'm feeling like Aninditta when she was feeling that she needed to survive, she needed to please people, what are some things that we need to do to bounce back and quickly find our own anchor?
Okay. That survival feeling is real. Okay. The feeling that you're not going to survive, it kind of paralyzes you. And I think this is the same as, like people having maybe like severe illness. Okay. So you take it day by day, like you ensure you survive today. Okay. And survive doesn't mean like at that time, like not keeping your job. It's not that. Survive means you mentally survive. Okay. Now when you can expand the, definition of survive out, like to be out, not to only include job, and but also to include your mental health, then the, the options are more available, like. So what I did, I survived today, I speak to my uh, like mentor, and I can sleep better. Tomorrow is another day. Okay. And also, like human brain, like has been proven to actually dwell in bad things. Okay. Once you actually go down the spiral, you actually do not come back. Okay. So Instead of worrying whether you survive, you will survive. You should actually tell yourself, like, hey, I have survived 7 days in this work. Okay, the 7 days counts. Like I could have not survived, first day. Okay, and then I survived 2 weeks. I survived 1 month. Okay, I survived 3 months, and maybe I'm not too bad. You know, and then if you pass your 3 months probation, that means the company also validate, that you are sort of okay at least, right? Like
Right.
they actually take you as a permanent employee. Okay, you need to count on that, just like
Right.
when we have a boyfriend, spouse, we tend to dwell on, like he's like that, I'm like this, like we don't get along. But throughout the years, like out of 365 days, how many days actually are just okay? You
Right.
don't kill each other, right? You get
Mhm.
companion. Okay. So I think, like first thing is we need to actually, change our mindset into looking at us as I'm okay. Okay. I have
Nice.
survived so far. Okay.
Nice, nice. See, so quickly I picked up three nuggets. Shamli, you'll be very proud of me, right? So, and then what I picked up from you is, it's just amazing. Firstly, I think to be aware and to be real when you are feeling vulnerable, right? And to ask for support, to get the right help that you need and to act on it. So, what I saw you doing is that to stay present, that means count every day, tick your boxes as what is going well on a daily basis, stay focused because when you stay focused on today, tomorrow will look after itself. And tomorrow, when you get to tomorrow, you can count your blessing for the way you lived your life yesterday. Right? So stay focused on today, be grateful for yesterday, the way you lived your life. Count your blessing, count your celebration. And what I liked most is really about asking for support and getting the support. Whether it was in the past with your mentors, and having someone to hold you accountable to keep you engaged in life, that one person who engages you in life, like how the psychology actually currently in the pandemic, how the psychology actually engages you. So I think the big issue is, when we're feeling a little bit left out because we're so used to being independent, how do we get to be engaged with someone in an activity so that we can stay focused on the current what I'm hearing, because it takes worries away from you. You've got no time to worry because you're focusing on how can I live my today very best. Sham, you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, just to add on to what you said, right? Looking for support. I think the two patterns that I see you from that I pick up from you, Anin, is one is you always look outside of yourself and say, who can I go and get support from? Right? That's kind of your default, something's not sitting right with me right now. I want to, who do I have in my space that I can go and get, right? And in the US, it was your mentor. Recently, in your recent example, you said it was your sister, right? And it was not that person was going to solve it. Perhaps they would, but that person can lead you to other things. So I think that's your default mechanism, right? You look out and say, okay, I need support. Who do I go to, right? Where can I get it? That's one. The second pattern I see that in how you've dealt with issues or dealt with life is you think of it in terms almost like a process or a project, right? You look at it and say, okay, what do I need to do? Right? I'm not sleeping well. It's not just work. It's almost like it's embedded in you and it's like this microchip in your head. And you think that way, right? I'm not sleeping well. Wait a minute, I'm not sleeping well. But then again, I'm not eating well, right? Are they linked? Are they not linked? Is it related to? So it's almost as if you look at it as a project. What resources do I need? What's happening right? What's not happening right? Well, how do I jig something? So those are the two patterns, Malar and Anin, that I've picked up. Yeah, listening to you, and that's interesting, right? To think
Yeah.
of life as one big project. Well,
And I think that's what it's very nice. What I love about these conversations with these leaders, and I call them practitioners, is that you might think you're telling a very simple story or snippet of your life, but there's so many golden nuggets that we can pick up, which is because it is the way you think, feel, and act all your life is what has led you to where you are, which is why you're a role model to many. Now, Sham, before I think there's one question coming up. We have 5 minutes. I just want to say good morning to Luis Moraes, who had said good morning long time ago. Soma, good morning. And there's someone from LinkedIn user, Irman Shah, who says good morning from Medipal. Good morning. And Nini Chong has a question, but before I put on the question, right, what I realize is that, you very nicely summarized, Sham, and I'm proud of you too, is that we go from feeling insecure to finding security, feeling threatened, finding security, right, to being content. And that's what Anin has shared, right? I feel I needed to survive. From survive, I begin to know that I am, secure. From survival to security, from security to content, right? Did that, and it's like a cycle, right? And you do that so successfully for so many years. Pandemic hits, and you begin to feel that you need to survive again. All right. Again, you go and get help and you begin to find security. And this morning you started off saying your content, right? Now, if you look at the way you actually go through, right? And one of those things that hits me is that at your position, at your leadership position, right? Not many leaders are courageous to say, you know what, I felt insecure, I got help. I became secured and today I'm contented. I've done it before, I'm doing it now, and I will do it again if there's a need. Where do you find the courage to come out here and say, you know what, this is what I've been through and I'm okay with it?
Hey, you know the answer to that, like if you've been noticing, like what I'm saying, it was survival again. Okay.
Right.
So I was playing that, like hard-hearted leader, the kind that knew it all, like managed everything, decided everything, until it was. So I was in a merger and acquisition project. This I actually can remember. It was like maybe 2010. Okay, around that time. It was so busy, and I was firefighting a lot. You know, like in the morning, like after, the next morning after that, I was barely awake. I was, not to mention, stressed out and everything, like like I basically was dysfunctional, because of the stress and the tiredness and the responsibility that I. Okay. uh, and basically I knew I needed to sleep. Okay. And that was like maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. I still have the long day ahead. So eventually I call up two of my most trusted subordinate. I said, okay, I'm barely alive now, like I really, really need to rest. So this is what I'm gonna do. I just told them, like this is what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna go to a sauna or a massage parlor or something like that. Not to have a yeah, well, the massage is an excuse, but I needed the bed basically. Or the alternative, I could go to a hotel because my home was pretty far away from the office. Okay, so you have to guard the fort until 5 o'clock. How about that? Now, if I get better earlier, I would come back. I think I just needed 2 hours of sleep. But surely, right, you can guard the fort, like for 2 hours until I come back. Okay. If anybody comes, like just lie, tell Ibu Anin is in a meeting with the big boss. They wouldn't be sad, right? Like just do whatever, like say whatever you need, you just need to free me up, guard me for 2 hours. And with that, I just left. They were like, okay, so went to a massage parlor, pay for an hour or two massage. I didn't, remember anything. I fell asleep, came back much refreshed, and came back to work.
Nice.
And surely, the world didn't come to an end in 2 hours.
Nice. So I love this, do whatever you need to do, even if you have to lie, free me up.
Oh my God, I hope you edited this part, yeah?
I'm sorry, it's life.
No, cannot.
Well,
Even if
we,
you
we,
want to, I'll say no.
yeah, we know people who lie for their bosses, but we seldom have bosses who come out and say, I told my staff, lie, do whatever, got me.
Got me.
Again, right? This tells me that even though you push yourself, when it's time for you to self-care, you're also able to say, I need to look after myself. You know what? And you're able to pass the baton and say, you look after the fort. I think so. There's a lot of balancing that's actually helping around the, helping you to get to that space of, from survival to secure to being content. Now, I know it's 8:47, but I'm going to ask you this question. Otherwise, my friend Nini will be really, really
Nini
upset.
will not be happy.
We'll end this because it's a very important question, because Nini probably is like you, working herself out day by day, saying to herself, I survived 7 days and so on and so on. Survival uses a lot of energy. It can be exhausting. It's not, it can be, it is. All right. How can we manage our energy? Nini Chong asks.
It's coming back to the rational question. Like I'm a very Cartesian person, so yeah, I manage things like project and my even personal life. So my friends also complain, but then this kind of question, like would go back to what gives you energy. Okay, in my case, going to the supermarket and looking at the shelf gave me energy. So how do you get your energy? Now this requires the skill of self-knowledge. Okay, so in order to answer that, you need to know yourself well. Okay. Now if you do not know, yet you don't have the answer to that. Okay, do what my psychologist did with me. So this is also a new thing. The exercise, I kind of systematically go through the list. Like I used to like watching, like Bollywood movies with friends. Like all this throughout your life. Remember the moments when you had good energy. Okay, and then like go through that list one by one. What maybe Bollywood movie is no longer a thing. Because Amitabh Bachchan is no longer there, but like certain things will actually still prevail, and then you make time for that.
Nice. I have to correct you. Amitabh Bachchan is still there, very much hotter by the day. Yeah,
but
so,
really, still in the movie?
Yes, I will send you some of his hot clips and then separately. Maybe we shouldn't talk about this hot stuff.
No.
Okay, it's me not seeing my Indian friends. Okay, so I need to.
But you've found who would share this all this hot men with you. So I will share the hot men of Bollywood with you. Nini says, "No, my joy. What brings me joy?" Yes, that's exactly what she said. Thank you very much. So, Sham, do you want to just add on something before we close?
I think I was just thinking there's hope for me actually, because I used to think that I'm too rational with how I think through issues that not from a work perspective but from a personal perspective, right? And actually at one point I did stop myself and say, why am I thinking of life like a project? It's like a to-do list, or this is what's good and what this is not so good, so it's okay, right? What do we fix? How do we fix it and things like that? But Anin, you just gave me hope right? That life is a project.
Nice. One way of looking at it. That is one way. I must admit, I recently meet people who actually survive, actually through different methods, me by being organized, but they, like seems like by freeing themselves, I look at them with admiration, but I'm like, I'm not like that. That will kill me. Okay, let me go back to my to-do list.
And I think that's a great space for us to say thank you to you, Anin, for being with us today and starting your morning, your Thursday meeting morning with us, and sharing with not just us, but our viewers and our listeners this brilliant nuggets. It's so wonderful to hear from a senior leader that they are struggling with, you are struggling, or they are struggling with things that people like us are struggling, or everyone else is struggling. The most junior person in the organization is struggling as well. So thank you for sharing that with us, Anin. Thank you for saying yes to us, and have a good Thursday.
Yes, it's a very delightful pleasure to talk to you. Anybody can connect with me in LinkedIn, and if you have follow-up questions, just DM me. Sham knows that I answer like 99% of my DMs, right?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, Anin. I'm sure a lot of people will engage with you. Thank you so much for making time. And we will, I will connect with Anin back and to talk about the Bollywood men. So, Sham, so you have the rational side and I have the emotional side. And together, I think we can rock better. So, what I really loved is, when we talk about, when we started off leadership in flow, we're talking about flow states. And flow states is where you know where your balance is. And that's exactly what Aninditta has brought us, right? Because, I love the story of survival. And a lot of people, even though we actually have enough to survive, we get into the survival mode because we become insecure. And she shared with us how to actually do it. And how in our flow work that we do, we talk about the 4 parts, which is what WHO also talks about being healthy, right? That we need to make sure we need to look after ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, which is what Anin said. And more importantly, sometimes we underestimate the power of relationships, the relational bit. And what Anin has shared, and we are on LinkedIn Live, is that how we can build meaningful, deep relationship online, virtually. But for that, we need to show up as ourselves, be vulnerable like what she did, and we'll find people to connect. And like what we said, right? All of this interaction actually helps us to reconnect with who we are, engage in life, and bring ourselves up again. So, with that, I think that was a great start to the month of April to look at individually, how we can look at small things that matter, to put small things to come together to do the bigger things that we are called to do as individuals and leaders. Gee, not bad.
Not bad. Not bad. I'm like, good for a Thursday morning. And yes, and on that note, we're going to say our goodbyes, and also before we do that, to let you know that next week we have Maggie Singh with us. Maggie will be calling in from Brazil, and Maggie's another person who has an amazing story to share with not just Malar and me, but to all of you. So we'll see you next week, same time, different link. Just watch out for the LinkedIn post to let you know where you need to go. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Thursday. Bye-bye. See you. Bye, Malar.
I wanted to say different country too. Bye. Have a great Thursday.
Bye.